1230, The Buzz.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town with PG Sittenfeld. A big thank you to former Congressman, Mayor, and news anchor Charlie Lucan. And we saved the best for last. Oh. Charlie, if you're still listening, maybe I shouldn't say
Charlie Lucan's my man.
No, Charlie's the man. But Lincoln and I were just saying, it does feel, I'm in the host seat right now. Yes. Lincoln's in the guest seat. It feels so wrong.
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable being interviewed anyway. I just don't.
It's going to be a tell-all. People are going to learn all sorts of crazy things they never knew.
I just don't like to be in this situation like this.
In terms of being a high-profile figure, the true mark, and this is what I posted on Facebook, sort of announcing that Lincoln and Charlie were going to be part of this show, a picture of myself with my arm around, not Lincoln Ware, but Lincoln Ware's cardboard cutout. This is when you know you are a mega celebrity.
It's all a part of the Link Inc. brand.
and a winning brand it is. So let's also, if folks want to ask Lincoln the guest today, a question, you know the number, 749-1230. But we want to sort of keep with this theme of life in the public eye, the rules of being in public life. Did you know growing up, Lincoln, I mean, obviously you are an incredibly, about as natural a talk show host as could be. Did you know, was an audience something you wanted from an early age?
Well, even when I was a small child, I would enter in talent shows. I thought I might end up being a singer or something.
If you want to sing a few bars, you won't stop.
You can sitting on the doctor's bag.
But I like that stuff. But, I used to get in talent shows, a little place called Piedmont Park where I guess it's near where the coroner's office is now. But that's where it was a recreation center, and we used to go there, and they had little talent shows. And I would always get in the talent show and pantomime and do stuff like that.
What was your go-to song?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. What was the song? What's your name?
What's your name?
What's your name? Is it Mary or Sue?
So you didn't win the talent show, is what we infer from that. And did you like performing for your parents? And I mean, at the dinner table, would you hold court and say, all right, we're going to go now to Mom online?
I was really shy, but I liked the, once I got there, I was okay. I really, I'm really shy. People don't realize that. If you ask my wife, she'll tell you.
Really?
Yeah.
So when did it first become, when did the idea of being the talk show host, when did that first sort of take hold and take root?
I just got tired of playing music. I started off as a
DJ, well-known DJ.
And eventually I just got tired of playing music all the time. Music. And, there were more and more talk shows appearing around the country, and it was starting to grow. So I said, hey, I might as well switch on over, get off the wave while I can.
It is fascinating. I mean, if your wife would tell people, Lincoln's actually kind of a shy guy. Yeah. Did you know the sort of gift of gab and hosting and being a talk show? Did you know that was, in your system?
Well, if you're a DJ, I mean, if it's easy to make the transition from a DJ to a talk show host. Right. If you just, get into all the news and everything that's going. People like Rush Limbaugh and, guys like that.
You took a better path.
Those guys were DJs in the past, so.
Do you think over time, especially hosting, a very, widely listened to show here at the Buzz, do you think it's changed you in certain ways? Has it made you, has it made you less shy? Has it actually made you more guarded?
And both. Guarded. I mean, I've been attacked before, physically attacked.
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. You didn't know about that?
No.
Well, a few years ago, maybe I guess about, I would say maybe 10 years ago.
Okay, I didn't live here.
Okay. 10 years ago, this station was out in Roseline, and there was a Marathon gas station right across the street, and my normal routine would be to stop there, get coffee and a newspaper. So one morning I stopped and got my coffee and newspaper, and as I was leaving, some guy stopped up, got in front of me, said, I'm Black Jesus, and you gonna deal with Black Jesus today. And he started, Did
you know what you had said or done that triggered?
No, he's never called the show. He had never called the show before or anything.
And we've got Black Jesus on line one who wants to reconnect with an old friend.
And so I think he's dead. He's dead now. So whoever that is playing a joke. Anyway, so I knew I was in trouble. I said, I'm going to have to fight. You can tell when you're going to have to fight.
But you're an ex-Marine.
So I had coffee in one hand and paper in the other. So I took my thumb and sort of flipped the top of the coffee off, and then I threw the coffee in his face, and then
Direct
I
hit?
punched. Yeah, and then I punched him, and then we went down.
You whooped this guy.
So we went down.
Wow.
So anyway, you could see the parking lot from the station. So Jade West, who was she was doing the Russ Parr, whoever was on.
I was gonna say she was on a Quest.
I don't think it was Russ Parr, but it was I can't think of the other morning show. but she was looking out the window.
Doug Banks?
Doug Banks.
Yeah.
So she was looking out the window, and she saw me on top of the guy, and he was trying to get up, and he was kicking his legs. So she says, I think some guy's having a seizure, and Lincoln is out there trying to help the guy have
What a good
seizure.
Samaritan. Yeah, nicest guy.
Not knowing
Well, in that case,
that I was
do you have
defending
any
myself.
advice for me on how not to find myself with black Jesus hunting me down outside a gas
You
station?
just never know when that person might appear. You know,
The real moral of the story actually is always have a hot cup of coffee in your hands. You know, some people can't pack heat,
Yeah.
others have the numchucks.
And at this point now, I'm too old to fight. Now I don't want to get in anybody's fight because it's going to take me too long to recover.
You know, I'm always here to fill in for you, Lincoln.
All right.
Apparently, Charlie accused me of liking being on the radio.
Yeah,
what a
I heard
terrible
that. He took a
accusation.
shot at you, a real shot.
What's your attitude toward interacting with strangers? So it's a fascinating dynamic to me because people will be coming up to you all the time, whether it's, Black Jesus or whoever else, and they know exactly who you are.
Right.
Lincoln Ware is pumping through the airwaves into their living room or their kitchen every day.
And they think I'm supposed to know them as well as
so
they
how's
know
that?
me.
I mean, how's that dynamic work for you?
I just pretend like, everybody's my best friend.
Right.
I don't like shaking hands, but I will shake hands anyway. I like the fist bump better. But,
All right, when you see Lincoln, give him the fist bump. Don't try and shake the man's hand.
And, I just try to be friendly to everybody, whether I know some people call up here and I'll see them out and I know they don't like me, but I'll still be cordial with them. I see them
Terrence
out there.
also just had a little bit more advice for listeners, and that is don't try and shake Lincoln's hand. Go for the fist bump, but don't fist bump his face. Is what Terrence. He wants the fist bump to the other fist.
Right, yeah.
Is the
Thank you,
preferable.
thank you.
Did that take some getting used to of people who you didn't know from Adam coming up to you and being like, Lincoln,
Yeah.
it's me, a total stranger.
Right. And then the ones that get me, you know who I am. Don't you know who I am? Tell me, who am I? that just, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard when someone says that.
And the approach is basically just, smile, be friendly.
Yeah. Because if the very person you're not friendly to, that's the person, he's stuck up. He think he's better than me. He think he's this. He think he's that. So.
How much do you think your sort of like persona, on-air persona, has evolved? Because I think of you as being an incredibly friendly on-air.
Well,
You're
I've
the
been that way
protagonist.
since 40 years ago when I started in radio in 1973. I think I'm pretty much the same person.
I feel like I've heard, excuse me, I feel like I've heard stories more of like, Lincoln used to be a little bit more Ken Anderson, a little bit more willing
Well,
to-
yeah, I mean, that part.
No?
I was a Republican at one point. And,
but no less likable on air.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
All right.
I don't
In
think
your
so.
own humble
I was
opinion.
like Ken Anderson is now, a kinder, gentler Republican.
Kinder, gentler Republican. Did you give him that line?
No, I didn't.
What about in terms of your things that you are not your favorite part of? I remember being behind a bus a couple years ago. Your big old face was sitting down the back of the bus, advertising for the show. So again, I mean, just voice out there, face out there, name out there. What's your least favorite part of being a high profile person in this community?
Well, I mean, I like it all because I know the day that I'm not on the air anymore, I'm just going to be a regular guy. The phone will stop ringing and people will stop asking me for favors and tickets and can they be on the show? All that will end. I know that. Only the real friends will remain around. See, I know that.
It was funny listening to Charlie Lucan, who's obviously, he's been out of office for 8 years, so people still know who he is. And before that, he spent a good 2-3 decades very much in the public life. I was interested to hear him sort of talk nostalgically and almost sort of preemptively maybe missing when people, just walk right by you in the street and there's not even wait, does that person look
Right. Yeah. I may miss that. but I look
But maybe
forward,
not.
I look forward to that day, I'm right now I'm in the sunset of my career. I'm not going to be on the air that much longer.
Like, don't break any hearts on any sense of what do you think after the next stage will be? Do you think it will be retirement, or do you think?
Yeah, pretty much, probably. I'm
All
not
right.
getting any younger. I'll be 63 next month, and so
All right.
I may put in another 3 years, maybe. I don't know. That all depends on
at
Radio
least
1.
3.
That always depends on Radio 1. Maybe they might not offer me a contract when this one expires.
I'm sure they will.
PG's ears perked up. Behind.
I don't know. I don't know what y'all are talking
He
about.
might be eyeballing that 10-2.
I like to know. Lincoln and I have talked about this. 4 hours is a marathon. I don't think people fully appreciate.
And believe me, that's I have issues with management on that. I mean, I want to go down to 3 hours, but
and that really is a huge difference.
People don't do talk radio is 3 hour shift nowadays. 4 hours is a marathon.
Well, I think I've heard certain people say, "Oh, Lincoln only has to work 4 hours a day. It's no sweat." No,
it wears on you. Let me tell you.
Are there other things about sort of being high profile that just are not your favorite, not part of the
people think I really like to party and I'm out at the club just because they see me out. Believe me, most of the time I'm working, and some events I have to attend, but for the most part, my wife would tell you I would much rather just stay at home and watch TV. That's my weakness. TV. I'm like TV is like crack to me. I love TV.
Let it be known that when I'm out at celebrities, it's because I actually like to party. I'm not faking it like Lincoln Ware.
Most of the time
I'm getting,
but when I'm there, I have a good time, and I party with the best of them.
Have you gotten less shy by being so in the public eye? And you're so much of your job is being friendly and accessible and seeing people and talking to them on air. Do you think it's made you less shy or not necessarily?
Yeah, it has. It probably has. Yeah. But,
all right.
I hate standing up. Well, I hear the music. We'll take a break.
Wait a minute. What do you do?
I'm taking over. See, I'm not used to being in this
is not
position.
the Lincoln Ware
I know.
show.
See, go ahead. You do it.
Unbelievable. All right, we will come back for the final segment of Talk of the Town. Not the Lincoln Ware show. I'm sure we're confusing a whole lot of folks right here on 1230, The Buzz of Cincinnati.
A body and soul. Don't move too fast. People just take it slow. Don't get ahead. Just trust the ball. That's how we move in.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town with PG Sittenfeld. This is the PG Sittenfeld show. Lincoln might try and hijack it every once in a while.
Oh,
it felt so odd, didn't it?
Yes, it
going
did.
out of break.
It did. See, I tell you, I feel uncomfortable.
We got Crime
here.
Stoppers coming up. No, delighted to be in show with a person who has 100% universal name ID amongst our listeners. So delighted that Lincoln is with us to talk about the pros and the cons of being in the public eye, in the spotlight.
Now, I just want to say too, I think a lot of people think if you're good at what you do or you like what you do, you're not working hard. So that's
right. They do.
a huge misnomer. But I wanted to ask, what's the impact of being a high profile figure in Cincinnati have on your family? I know we're really PG and I are good friends with your daughter, so we're how does that
amazing
affect your
Tamiko. Yeah.
Well, okay. In my early days of radio, I was a DJ, so that meant I had to DJ parties,
right.
Private parties, and in the club. So I wasn't home as much then. And as far as my daughters, Tamiko, she likes the public eye. She likes to be out there.
Yes, she does.
And my Tia, she likes the low key. She doesn't like the public. She's low key.
Did they ever come home to dinner or anything and be like, Dad, someone made a comment about this today because of something you said on the air?
Yeah.
And how do you just say, honey, I'm doing my job? Or what's the...
I can remember, I think I was fired from one. I think it was the Wiz or some. I used to work at the Wiz too. A lot of people don't realize I used to work at the Wiz, and I think it was I got fired from the Wiz. New program director came in, and I got fired, and Tamiko came home. They said you got fired. His mother said you got fired. She was upset about that.
That's actually the same face that she makes too. Because you two look alike. So.
And what'd you tell her?
I said, oh, well, that happens in radio. You're not really in radio unless you get fired once, So
what are you saying, Lincoln?
Yeah.
You got some bad news you want to deliver me?
Anybody that's been in radio a long time has been fired. Trust me.
That's why I occasionally do a show in the elevator to prove my chops,
And by the way, I have to commend you on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You pulled that off.
That was rough. I'll be honest with you.
We have the recording to. If
what
anyone
I can't
needs
understand, why didn't you call the fire department?
I'll tell you why. Because literally, Tamaya was obviously trapped in an elevator with me, which no one should have to suffer through that. But we were 3 minutes from the start of the show. We had, who was the famous actress?
With Alfred Woodard and Michael Nutter. On the show
so
that
the
day.
mayor of Philadelphia and Alfred Woodard are calling in. I'm not wanting to have to sort of send them word that the show's off. Don't worry about it. So literally, my brain was just, how can we pull this off? That was the only thing.
He said to me, "Do you have service in here?" I was like, "Yes." He was like, "Well, I have service. Let's do it."
The show must go on.
There you go. That was good. You pulled it off.
In terms of, so the same thing we were asking Charlie Lucan a little bit earlier. Obviously, you're easy to like, but not everyone on the show loves you. You get some haters calling.
I've got plenty of them.
Are you able to just, the criticism criticism? Does it ever sort of, take hold, or do you shake it off pretty well? What's your attitude and approach toward dealing with
When I first started this business, it did bother me. I would even lose sleep sometimes. Why'd
that caller say that?
Yeah. Now, I've forgotten about it by the time I get off the air. I hear it so much, it does not bother me at all.
What is it just, you get used to it, or what changed, or did you actually come up with sort of, this is my approach to not letting it get to me?
You just know some people are not going to agree with everything you say. And there's a lot of people that want to tell you that. So, and they don't bite their tongue.